I am a Gemini. My birthday is in 2 days. I turn a number. I'm past the age where I want to tell people how old I am, so I will tell you that I am celebrating an anniversary of being 21. Happy 31st birthday. Fuck! You're still pretty young? No. Late 20s, early 30s are actually an awesome age. I feel like it's a transitional age. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but I feel like you're brought up to believe your 20s is like when you have to have your shit together and you have to like be an adult and stuff, because like you spend your teens just kind of like in school and just being like, it's just like tutorial mode. And you spend the whole time being like, God damn it, this game fucking holds your hand like a motherfucker. And then you go out in the world and you're just like, fuck, I actually don't know anything about shit because school didn't teach me anything. So then you just fail miserably throughout all of your 20s. And then once you're 30, you realize like, oh, who the fuck cares? And then you just enjoy your life, which is what I'm looking forward to. I spent my 20s working. Literally, I gave my 20s of my life to YouTube, essentially. I hunkered down and I just worked like a motherfucker, like the entire decade. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up being able to have a career that I love. I feel like my 30s are definitely going to be a time when I start focusing more on not trying to build something, but now just maintain something and also just do shit that's more fun. It's like, I feel like a lot of my 20s, I spent like trying to do everything right. I wanted to make sure that I didn't fuck up this thing that I had built. Now in my 30s, I'm kind of just being like, all right, let's fuck this up a little bit. Yeah, I think it's just important to know that like everybody's path is a little bit different, and it's okay if you feel behind or if you feel ahead. Don't feel too ahead. Don't get too cocky, because shit might turn south very quickly. Just enjoy the ride. There's gonna be bumps, and sometimes the bumps will fucking total your car, but I mean, it's part of the experience, I guess. Started my 20s and I'm kind of lost still. Yeah, that's normal. I shouldn't say normal, I should say the average. I think people feel very lost throughout their 20s, especially after spending your whole teens being told that if you don't do everything right, then your adulthood is gonna fucking blow dick, and that's gonna happen when you're 20. And even if you did everything your best, you're on a roll. Like, I actually think like, especially people who did very, very well in school have a harder time adjusting to the real world. You no longer have like your tasks laid out for you. Like, this is what you have to do to succeed. It's now so like amalgamous and subjective that you have no idea what the fuck you're gonna do. I feel like people think that everything they're doing is wrong. You know, if they went through school doing everything right after being told what everything right is. I was very rebellious. I didn't give a fuck about like what I was supposed to do. So I feel like I transitioned to my 20s very well. I was very good at creating and maintaining routines for myself that served me rather than served a structure that I felt like school was trying to instill. Good at being a sheep? I wouldn't say, like, I mean, if you're good at following directions, I don't think you're a sheep. I think that's a talent. Some people can't fucking do that. Some people have a really hard time being able to meet other people's expectations. But being good at meeting expectations means that's going to be a fairly useless virtue if you're not appealing. How do I explain it? Because like, if you have like a normal job, you're definitely going to have to be appealing to a boss, right? But if you're appealing to yourself, there is no outside source that's going to do that for you. You have to figure that out for yourself. I think a lot of people with ADHD have a harder time, especially because one of the issues with ADHD is that whole executive functioning side of things, where it's hard for you to not just break down tasks, but be able to label tasks. That's something that's kind of done for you in school. You know what you have to do. You're given your homework, but there is no homework when you're an adult. You figure out what you need to do to reach the goals that you have made. There's no fucking guide to that. There's no Prima strategy guide, no game facts for that. You kind of have to learn that skill as you go if you didn't do that in school, which I did. I knew what I wanted in school. I wanted to be a musician, and I did everything that I could do to be able to set myself up for that. And here I am. I'm a musician. Cool. Am I happy? Sometimes. Like, do I have problems? Yes. But does that mean that I failed or I succeeded? No. I was better prepared to meet the goals that I set out, and then now I have new goals. No idea what I do right or wrong. Well, what's weird is like that whole thing where like, I mean, I know you've heard it. Like, everybody always says like, there is no wrong or right way to do it. You just do it, man. Man, you just go out there and whatever you do, that's good enough, man. And that's not fucking helpful if you don't understand that. There's a point of it that is true. However you deal with it is the right way to do it, because even if you fail, that failure is going to teach you shit that actually fucking helps you. You get bit in the ass, but getting bit in the ass is not the end of the road. That's what we all think. We always think that like, oh my God, like I don't want to do this because I am going to get bitten in the ass, or like it's going to be the wrong thing to do. But that's not the end of the world, man, you know? And if you remember that, then it's actually a lot easier to meet the goals that you set out for yourself, because those aren't like maze dead ends. It's not things that you have to avoid at all costs anymore. If you fail, you can get back up. Didn't handle failure well? Yeah. Some people don't handle being disappointed well. And I think that causes a lot of issues for a lot of people. People being very, very triggered at situations where they haven't met expectations or they've disappointed people. And in some situations, they think they've disappointed people, but they haven't. That's rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And I think it's important to allow yourself the empathy to be like, well, just because I don't deal with things in the way that I think that it seems like other people deal with them doesn't mean that you're wrong. You're valid. You fucking feel the things that you do because you're a human being with your fucking experiences. The things that you are good at, the things that you're bad at, the things that you're bad at aren't a failure. It's part of your character. It's part of your character sheet. Pushing through and managing my emotions and forging a way forward. Felt like there was none. That it's tough though, because you also do like managing your emotions can very easily turn into depression. I think a lot of people's depressions start from feeling this need to like manage their emotions because certain emotions aren't allowed, right? I have ADHD and I feel like this rational fail has held me back a lot. Yeah, it probably has, but failure is not the end of the road. If you fail at something, you can't treat failure like it's going to be the death. It's going to be one step and everybody has to fucking fail on something. My whole life has just been trying to make everything about me perfect. Yeah, you can't be perfect. It's literally impossible. So you're holding yourself at such a high standard. And I guarantee you, Janonways, like I bet you have goals that you do meet, and I bet you keep moving those goalposts. Like you don't allow yourself to actually feel happy about those goals that you set. And that's also going to lead to a lot of fucking misery. A lot of people do this shit where they're like, this is the baseline, right? And you work so hard to reach that fucking baseline that you then hit it, and then you're like, okay, well, that's the baseline. It's like, hold on a second. You just worked really fucking hard to get there, and that's not nothing. You have to give yourself shit. Otherwise, you teach yourself that you're a fucking asshole to yourself. So let yourself be a little bit happy and proud of the things that you've done. You're not trying to catch up. You're there. All the shit you've done for your entire life has led up to this moment, and for you to enjoy this moment. Because if that's not the case, then you will never reach that moment. You can hold both. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the master at this stuff. I deal with this shit too. That's why I love talking about it. Sharing what I've learned that helped me in these situations. Whether or not it's actually helpful or it's just nice to hear. I was told that I had ADHD, but I didn't. I know I don't have ADHD because I don't fit the criteria. I can relate with people who do to an extent, because I know what it's like to kind of be told that like the way that you do things is not in line with the way that the world does things. I had an IQ test, cognitive test recently for ADHD. I assumed that was baseline at best, but so was in the 95th percentile. Anxiety is a bitch, but it's manageable in a lot of situations. Some situations are more complicated than others, especially with like PTSD, anxiety caused by all sorts of things from childhood, but there's a way out, man. It turns out mine is just old-fashioned trauma. Well, old-fashioned trauma is, luckily, psychology has seen a whole lot of old-fashioned trauma, so you're in luck. Hard time connecting with peers. Yeah. Well, it's easy to hyper focus on all the failures and not be able to see the successes when it's you and all you're looking at is other people's successes. I want the best for y'all who have felt a lot of pain. The great thing about career is it's not a tattoo. You don't have to figure out the career that you want to have for the rest of your life right now. It's actually statistically proven. It's my favorite word, statistically. If you change jobs and change careers, you actually make the most money over time. Sometimes. Not always. The 90s were a golden age of parents not taking any accountability for the actions that they did and medicating kids in place of parenting. That's why I originally wanted to study ADHD, was because I wanted to put a stop to it because I saw how much it was damaging people. Like it damaged me. Like I had doctors who told me I had ADHD just because I didn't do well in school. I saw that like if I went down that road and not music, and I went down like trying to help kids who were wrongfully fucking diagnosed with ADHD and then given Ritalin or Adderall, that causes its own problems, especially with kids who don't have ADHD, when the issue is that the parent just doesn't want to fucking parent the child. The teacher just doesn't want to fucking teach the child because they're just a little bit too tough, just a little bit uncomfy to teach or raise. Sucks. I think somebody else is better for the job, not me. So then I started studying autism, and I liked that a lot better. As you guys know, I didn't ever finish that because here's my brother Luigi. I always felt like I had a good dissociation from emotional side, if that makes sense, because I was like, oh, like I can handle a lot. So I could probably deal with this, but I realized the reason why I could handle a lot was because of, you know, just shit I've dealt with myself. I don't want to like capitalize on that. I actually want to go the other way. I want to like be able to fuck. I want to be able to fuck. One more. Yeah, well, we don't all want to be able to fuck. Some of us just want to vibe. Wish I understood autism better. I mean, I live with it as I have it, but I understand nothing about it and why it makes me the way I am. I remember I was corrected by this chat because I was still kind of saying like people with autism, and apparently I missed the boat on this, but it's now widely considered more acceptable to say autistic people, autistic kids, autistic adults. And it took me a while to really internalize that, but I think it's a really beautiful way to say autism is not your failure. It's not what holds you back. It is you, as is anything that makes your personality what it is. The more you fight against that, the harder it is going to be for you, just in general. And not to let fucking people make you think that your autism, your ADHD, your queerness makes you any lower tier of a human, because you're not. Fuck. And with that, I'm probably gonna go.